Hey, what's up, guys? It's Dave from Cousins Paintball. Today we're going to talk about a subject that we end up spending a lot of time talking to customers about in the store, and that's the difference between CO2 and compressed air, or nitro, or nitrous, or NOS, whatever you want to call it. It's really compressed air, high-pressure compressed air. The main difference between CO2 and compressed air, obviously, they're different gases, but performance-wise, the difference is that compressed air is regulated and it's much more stable than CO2. CO2 is affected by the temperature. CO2's pressure, output pressure, is affected by the temperature. So it varies in output pressure depending on the bottle temperature. You notice when you fill your tank, it's very cold. That means your pressure is going to be really low. Conversely, if you're on a cold day like it is today, it's like 30, my guess is 34 degrees outside, something like that. Today, your pressure is also going to be very low. Where that comes into being a problem is a lot of the guns require, or a lot of the lower end guns require more pressure to operate, like a Tippmann, like a Spider, something like that. They need at least 600 PSI to operate correctly, if not higher than that on some of the older guns. So you got a fresh, cold tank that was freshly filled, not working right. It's a cold day out, gun's also not going to work right. That's a problem. So that's why we recommend compressed air significantly over CO2 any time of the year, but especially in the winter. Next up, we're going to check the pressures on these tanks. Both these tanks are indoors. It's roughly 67, 68 degrees in here. What's the thermostat say, Chris?
68.
68 degrees. So that's where we're at. All right, cool. So we'll check these pressures, and then we'll go outside, let them cool off, and see it from there. Awesome. So the first one we're going to check the pressure of is CO2. I'm guessing it reads about 750, 800 PSI. Look at that. It's just under 800 PSI. If it's hotter out, that pressure is going to be higher. And conversely, if it's colder out, it's going to be lower. So we'll test that in a second, but let's check the compressed air pressure too. Okay, now we'll check compressed air. I'm guessing these tanks tend to be about 800 to 850 PSI output pressure. Let's see where we're at. It's about a little over 800 PSI, probably 810, 825. That should be consistent when we take it outside and it cools off. It should be the exact same pressure. So next thing we're going to do, go put these in the snow, let them cool off, and come back in a couple hours. All right, cool. We're out here in the snow, in the freezing cold of Deer Park, New York. We're going to check the pressure on the compressed air first. As predicted, it's exactly the same as it was before. Ambient temperature does not affect compressed air pressures, at least in normal temperatures. If you go to the moon or something, I'm sure it'll do it. All right, cool. Let's check CO2 now, too. All right, let's check the CO2 now. I'm going to guess it's going to be significantly lower than 800 PSI. Yeah, there you go. It's roughly 425 or so. The reason that's going to be a problem is, like we said before, a lot of the lower-end guns, and I guess the higher-end guns too, but mostly lower-end guns like Tippmann, Spiders, Azadins, etc., they need at least 600 PSI to run. If your tank is, a CO2 tank is 30 degrees, which a lot of people in New York at least play in that temperature, it's going to be a problem. Your cyclone feed's not going to work. Your gun's not going to get full velocity if it cycles at all.